Good evening, dear members. This is CA Murari Khatan, Vice Chairman of Bhagalpur Branch CIRC. Today, we have gathered in this digital media platform for a webinar on a very important topic, Code of Conduct vis-a-vis new practitioners. The Code of Ethics, or Code of Conduct prescribed by our institute, is a set of principles that govern how a member should conduct himself. A member does audit, a member does various work, a member is in management services, in consultancy services. So the institute have given certain guidelines that a member should follow, and it is mandatory in nature, and it is obligatory in nature for each and every member to conduct its practice according to the code of ethics prescribed by the institute. Since it is mandatory in nature, but it is also challenging for new practitioners to abide by this. They come as a new practitioner, they do not have the support system, they want to establish their firm. So it is very challenging for them. Members cannot advertise, members cannot solicit their clients, members cannot do rate cutting, members have to do communication to the previous auditors. So these are various ethics in which new members are facing problem. We have arranged this webinar deals with a brief description on the code of ethics and how our young practitioners would abide by the same. I would like to welcome our learned speaker of the session, CA R.K. Gaur sir. Good evening, sir, and welcome in this session, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir. Before proceeding further, I would like to give a brief introduction of our learned speaker. CA R.K. Gaur sir is a fellow member of the institute and is engaged in the practice as managing partner of Gaur and Associates Chartered Accountant since 1986. He has pursued post-graduation in economics and law with first division in both MA and LLM. He has also pursued diploma in information system audit and certificate courses of ICAI on forensic accounting and fraud detection, GST, and concurrent audit of banks. He has served as convener and deputy convener of several committees of NIRC. He has been nominated as a member of task force of the committee for cooperatives and NPO sectors of ICAI. He has been nominated to the grievance redressal committee of GST. His core area of practice is direct taxation and international taxation. In the past 35 years of his practice, he has represented case before appellate authorities including DPR, AAR, and ITAT. He has addressed seminars on various topics related to direct tax. Notwithstanding professional engagements, he is contributing to various special fora. At present, he is the president of North Indian Chartered Accountant Society and General Secretary of Indian Center for Art and Culture. He has been nominated National General Secretary of Federation of All India Vyapar Mandal and apex body of the traders. On the research front, his thought process on penalty in taxation, penalty cannot be treated as a source of revenue, has been evaluated on economic term module by the Institute of Trinity College, Connecticut, USA. The result has been traced at 4.02 on a scale of 1 to 7. So, sir, without taking so much time, I would like to welcome you once again and kindly give a brief elaboration and brief session on the code of ethics. It's a very important topic, and institute is planning to bring a new code of ethics from 1st of January 2025. So it has now been more and more prominent, and many litigations are coming. New members, suppose they receive any notice, how to proceed, what to do, how to conduct an audit. And I am very confident that all members will be beneficial by your deliberation and your vast experience on the topic. So I hereby welcome you once again and kindly hand over the mic to you. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. First of all, I'm thankful to the Bhagalpur branch and the ICI for giving me this opportunity to share my views with you. And certainly, as you rightly said, that the code of ethics is a relevant factor today for those who are practicing as a chartered accountants. So I'm making a brief presentation, and with presentation, we will discuss the things as the presentation progresses. From the beginning. Okay. So, code of ethics, is it? It is visible. Yes. Okay. So let us proceed. Uh, in the today's session, we have two two slides, two files. Uh, so with immediately proceeding with the this one, I'm not visible. Huh? It's okay. Is it okay?
Perfect, sir. Perfect.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay.
It's okay, sir.
Okay, okay. So, as far as the ethics is concerned, so everybody knows the ethics is being practiced by all the persons in their real life situation all the times, whether it is a dharma, karma, or whatever it is. So, this is something in the beginning which I'm showing you, but depending upon the time, we will proceed. So, what exactly ethics questions? What is the best way to people to live, and what actions are right or wrong in a particular set of circumstances? I mean, this is a general aspect of an ethics. And if this ethics is in a given set of circumstances, then it becomes applied ethics. So, in our case, chartered accountancy is our profession, and the ethics has been designed how to a person in a practice who is a chartered accountant should behave or should perform his functions in the manner as desired by this code. So this code is for us. So this code of ethics for chartered accountants. The new definition was given to the chartered accountants was a professional accountant. So now we are known as professional accountant as far as this our code of ethics is concerned. So this present code of ethics, which is from the 2020, 1st July 2020, it has got 3 volumes. Earlier it was part A, part B, but now it has got 3 volumes, volume 1, volume 2, and volume 3. So the earlier was this one. Now currently we have this system. The part A applicable to the professional accountants. Volume 1, we are talking about the volume 1. It has 4 parts. Part 2 is professional accountants in business. Part 3 is the professional accountants public practice. And part 4A and 4B are the independence standards. Part 4A has got 500 sections, which talks about the independence of audits and reviews. And part B, independence for other assurance engagements. So, friends, important thing is you can look at this uh, segregation that part 4 is very important, and 70% of our work is related to independence standards, and that we have to deal firmly. Now, why it is important? Because the compliance of the code, both part A and part of ethics, part A and volume 1 is mandatory because it is a guideline of the council. And one more important thing which has taken place in drafting this code, the word should has been replaced with shall. So what does it mean? It means whatever has been written in this code it has to be followed ipso facto. There is no scope for any deviation. Concept of materiality is by and large ruled out. And you see, non-compliance of the provision of the code will be deemed to be a violation of clause 1, part 2, second schedule. And now, you see, with this, what is part 1? This clause 1, part 2, second schedule. How it read? A member of the institute, whether in practice or not, shall be deemed to be guilty of professional misconduct if he contravenes any of the provisions of this act or regulation made thereunder or any guidelines issued by the council. So this volume 1 has been issued as a guideline of the council. So if we are not following this code, this guideline means volume 1, then certainly we are making mistakes. And now let us come to certain important things. Why this code is important and why we have to discuss. As a chartered accountant in practice, we are issuing reports on a daily basis. And what do we write? So what I have decided to discuss with you, what is the interplay of statutory audit and code of ethics. So when we are reporting, we are in the paragraph of basis of opinion. What does it say? We conclude our audit in accordance with the standard of auditing. That will come little later. Essays are very, very important facet of auditing. Because why I'm saying so? Because accounting standards are to be followed by the auditee, and your responsibility, our responsibility is to verify them. But essays are our responsibility. We have to perform our action, our work in accordance with the essays. So, as we conducted our audit in accordance with the standards on auditing specified under section 143(10) of the Act, Companies Act, of course, our responsibility under those essays are further described in the auditor's responsibility for the audit of financial statement section of our report. We are independent of the company in accordance with the code of ethics. Whatever 600 sections we have talked about under part 4, 4A and 4B, this talks about here. We are independent of company in accordance with the code of ethics issued by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, together with the ethical requirements that are relevant to our audit of the financial statement under the provisions of the Act and rules made thereunder. And we have fulfilled our ethical responsibilities in accordance with these requirements and code of ethics. So why I'm showing so? Because in the flow we are writing this, but we should understand the value of code of ethics. Again, we are writing. We also provide those with the charge of governance, with a statement that we have complied with the relevant ethical requirements. We are telling the auditee also, TCWG, those charged with the governance, that ethical requirements have been duly complied with by me while auditing your financial statements. And when we are giving the IFC, internal financial control report, IFC, which we are giving, there again we are saying what we are saying, that those standards and guidance note require that we comply with the ethical requirements and plan and perform the audit and obtain reasonable assurance about. So ethical requirements again. So in a report, three places we talk about the ethical requirements, code of ethics. So this see the importance of the code of ethics here. Now, again, another aspect which is very, very important these days is a code of ethics and peer review. If you see the application form which you are filing for a peer review, what does it questions? In part B, second part, uh, it requires the ethical requirements. Whether ethical requirements have been complied with. I mean, there are 15 questions which I have reproduced here just for your convenience. But we have to look into that, how much this is important. Let me read out quickly. Which of the following procedures does the PU have in place ensuring that the personnel adhere to the ethical requirements, those contained in the code? What are those things? Do we have ethics partner responsible for ethics? All those things have to be mentioned. So ethics, there has to be ethics partner. Which of the following checks does the PU put in place to ensure that the independence requirements are communicated to the personnel? Is there some mechanism is there? You have to say yes or no. Invariably you say yes, but is it is supplemented by some document? Yes, we have to keep a document. We'll come later. We'll discuss in detail so that it helps you out. Which of the following policy, procedure, and safeguards the PU has in place to mitigate the threats and independence? We will discuss this also. But they are putting these questions very precisely when you are filing your application for peer review. What policy, procedure, and safeguards has the PU established with regard to the threats to its independence? Are the number of audit assignment held by PU at the time more than the specified number? आपको पता है, you know precisely that 60 number, then the company's audit, then there are exemptions like government companies. These all those things you have to evaluate and then you have to put in the questionnaire. Has the PU accepted appointment as statutory auditor whose total value of the remuneration from other services is more than the audit fee? Has the PU accepted appointment auditor of a concern while he is indebted? If he is indebted more than 1 lakh, then he cannot perform the audit. Has the PU received fees from the client below the minimum scale of the fees? There is a prescribed fee for the performance of your assignment. You have to specify whether you have charged below it, and if so, why? Has the PU, being statutory auditor of the client, rendered any services to the same client as mentioned? For this is for other services. This is informatics. Has the PU, as incoming auditor entity, followed the direction given by the ICI not to accept an appointment as an auditor in case is unjustified removal? Does the PU or network as a good and healthy practice make a disclosure of the payment received by it for other services through the medium of different firm or firms in which the said PU or network or its partners may have an ownership interest? Has the PU followed the guidelines issued by the ICI in respect of the engagement? You see, this is also very, very important. And I have been asked to discuss this engagement. You have to talk about this engagement factors very well, because the audit appointment letter itself is not the engagement letter. Engagement letter is something different. It has to be there with you. Then it talks about website, how the website should, what content of the website should be there. Is the website of the PU is in conformity with the ICI guidelines? And whether your firm has been reviewed by QRB, FRRB, or any regulator Have any government bodies, authorities evaluated the performance of the firm to the extent of debarment or blacklisting? So why I have taken out uh, this aspect, because you should be very clear about the code of ethics. This part pertains to code of ethics, and that questionnaire you have to fill. So now coming to the pattern of this code. As against the original code, 2009 code, there is a difference in this code. The structure is totally different. In any case, if there is a material, is any issue, then there is an introduction. Then specifically told what exactly that is requirement. That is requirement is put like R, letter R, and the word share. So what precisely it has been told to you that this is for this requirement, and it has to be done invariably in this fashion only. However, for your benefit, certainly for your benefit, the application material is available in detail. And if you are stuck with any of the situation, by and large, if you go through the application material, you will be probably you may be in a position to fix your problem there itself. So the general application of code we are coming. Now we are talking about the fundamental principles. What are these 5 fundamental principles are the backbone of any assurance function which you perform. I mean, when we talk about assurance, means generally it is an audit, but in the technical parlance, it is assurance function. So from the day one, the institute came into picture. These 5 principles have been duly adhered by all the chartered accountants. Whether this code was there or this code was not there, these 5 fundamental principles have been respected and duly complied with. What are those? They are integrity, objectivity, professional competence and due care, confidentiality, and professional behavior. You know, the integrity is a wider term, and when you pass out this examination, very tough examination which you pass out, it is expected, it is very well expected that you have an integrity quotient that will guide you while performing your function. And then, of course, objectivity. What is objectivity? I mean, with those training experience and qualification, you have widened your horizons and you have the objective criteria. It is not that you simply doing 2 plus 2, making this vouching and all that. You have an objective criteria that what exactly you have to perform and how you have to perform. Professional competence and due care. While you are performing assurance function or other function as well, then the professional competence should be visible. It's not that you are professionally competent, but it should be visible and there has to be a due care. Then there is an element of confidentiality. There is You cannot divulge any information because that is a private information. Whatever has been conversed between you and your client, it has to be kept with you except in certain exceptional circumstances. Exceptional circumstances when the ICI needs this information to be divulged or court of law requires. And then finally your professional behavior. Again, this why I'm talking, this is a subjective matter and you are by and large performing these things. But uh, sorry to say here that quite often we do not substantiate these performance with documentation. So that issue, I think my vice chairman has said, what are the problems? The problem is here that whatever we have done, it is not substantiated by documentary evidence. So, in the beginning itself, here, when we are talking, you have to uh, assert that the documents are the real evidence which will save you from any of the eventuality in case there is any case arising out of your performance of the functions. Then your document can only save you, nothing else. So while performing your functions, you have got five kind of threats. So five fundamental principles and five threats which are evident in all functions. What are those five threats? Self-interest threat. Self-interest threat, if you talk, it very well culminates with independence. If you have got any kind of interest directly or indirectly with the client or his related entities, then your independence has to be tested. If you are connected either by partnership, holding of shares, or any other reason, you and your immediate family, then you should abstain from taking doing assurance function. And for this, you can very well put a test within yourself and create a document each year that take from the all the partners and senior officers or your employees that you are I am not interested in any of the uh, entities directly or indirectly, or I am interested in this entity as a my relatives are somewhere, either they are shareholder or partners, so I am abstaining from performing this function. This kind of a letter you should obtain each year. That will help you very well. And then it comes to the self-review threat. What is self-review threat? Self-review threat is something which comes out when you are doing the performance of certain functions intermittently. Suppose you are auditing a big organization and the entity says that on 25th of March, they ask you that we have frozen all the inputs of fixed assets. So you please prepare FAR. So depreciation you will calculate and you have frozen that depreciation. But what will happen? When you are auditing that financial statement, then probably you will feel that I have concluded that on 25th of March, so it is not required to be paid here. So this is a self-review threat. Then comes to advocacy threat. It is a similar kind of threat. What is advocacy threat? It is when you have given an opinion or you have decided something during the course of your audit, and when you are representing before a taxation authority, quite often you are representing before them, then you take that stand only because you have a clear cut things in your mind that this computation or this stand we have taken and this has to be like this. So this is called advocacy threat. And in the code of ethics, these two threats have been dealt very, very seriously: self-review threat and advocacy threat. Then comes to the familiarity threat. What is this familiarity threat? Familiarity threat is a threat which talks about in a situation, suppose you are an auditor for a particular entity, which is a medium entity where rotation is not required. So you are you are very much confident that this entity is functioning like this each year. So you have a prototype and you do the functions in the same similar fashion and proceed with the reporting. In some cases, some change might occur in a particular year, which might be skipped. So this is a familiarity threat. And last is intimidation threat. Of course, this threat is a hidden threat, but it occurs quite often these days because the entities for which we are doing functions, assurance functions, they are not providing adequate information, and if you ask the information, they they put some pressure on you. Either we will not appoint you in future, or some way or the other. So this kind of threat is called intimidation threat. So a threat can never be eliminated. See, the elimination of threat is next to impossible. But what we can do, we can mitigate the threat. Mitigation means to reduce it to the minimum acceptance level. We will come to that also. So how this threat is being eliminated, ever mitigated? By profession, legislation, and regulation. These are three methods which are being used. As a profession, the educational training and experience requirement for the entry into the profession. This is a barrier. Unless you have, this is minimum standard. Whether we are coming through uh, direct entry or we are passing through this examination, entry examination. Then continuing professional development requirement. You see, CPE programs we are doing, and CPE hour is a mandatory. I will come in the second slide, second slide show, if we the time permits. So CPE hour is also helping us. The corporate governance regulations. Then there are corporate governance regulations, professional standards. What are those standards? These are the standards, essays, uh, IND-AS, AS, all those things are there. Then the professional or regulatory monitoring and disciplinary procedures. ICI has got disciplinary procedures, and other government bodies also, like NAFRA, as you must be hearing quite often these days about NAFRA. Then the tax department is also reviewing your performance. CAG, SEBI, all these authorities are there. So this is a mitigation threat. And at work environment, what we do, we compliance with the fundamental principles. What are the first fundamental principles? All those five fundamental principles which we talked about in the beginning, and act in the public interest. Now, public interest has been defined here. So we'll come to this little later, and documented policies and procedures. Now, I want to emphasize this aspect very, very firmly, because unless you have a documented policies and procedures, probably your entire working is considered to as if nothing has been done. So please take care of these things. Preserve your documents. Some documents that how you have arrived at to the such position, or your assertion, this is our finding, but it should be supported by some document. I will repeat it a number of times during my presentation, please. Then organization specific. This could be an organization specific. When we go into deeper into this, then we have to, first we have done all those exercises. Then if a bigger scenario, the organization is specific. If an organization, suppose I'm talking about an oil exploration business company. So in that, you have to prepare your documentation, you have to perform in a totally different manner. Engagement is specific. What engagement you have been given? Suppose You are given engagement to compile that financial state. So you have to perform with SRS 4410 in accordance with that. Then again, the client is specific. If there is a client, he has a number of activities. Then again, you have to plan in a different way. Then external consultation. This is also important because our essays are very serious about this. If you are not in a position to give an expert opinion on a particular subject, say valuation of a property, valuation of jewelry, you are not a competent person. So you should take external consultation. Sometimes in our line itself, as a chartered accountant, we also take consultation. Like when we are doing international taxation business cases, we are seeking opinion from our FEMA partners. So this kind of situation is always there. Independence of partners and professional staff that I told you, you keep a document with you. And disciplinary mechanism, interest. I would not talk about this because it is not there. So I will not talk about this. Now, there are two important things which have been brought into this. How you mitigate threat. When after mitigating, if it is at the acceptance level. And how the acceptance level has been defined, the reasonable and informed third party test has been applied. So, reasonable and informed third party test is, is an element which has been brought into this code. What is this? If a person of the similar stature goes and looks at your file, he will come, he should, or rather, he must come to the same conclusion at which you have arrived at. So it means you have done all those, you have taken all precautions, all procedurals which were required to be taken, and the other person going there, and if he is reviewing your work, he is also reaching at the same conclusion as you have reached. So this is a reasonable and informed third party test. So what will happen if you are judging your independence? Then it means if all the threats have been evaluated and safeguards have been applied, if you can mitigate the threats, you accept the assignment. If not possible to mitigate the threats, you decline it. Here you have to be firm, and that is how your independence and other things will be in place. Now, 2019 code make there are few things which are there. Responding to no class, non-compliance of the laws and regulations. These are the things which have been substantive changes have been brought into the volume 1, and you have to comply with them. Restriction on taxation service to audit client. Prohibition on management responsibility to audit clients. And restriction on the fees from single client. It was 15% only in the beginning. We will come to later. But restriction on the fees from the single client. You have to make a declaration. If consecutively for 2 years, you are dependent on a particular client. Duty of the accountant case of intentional breach. It is no more in the picture, so we are skipping it out. Then the structural changes, I have already told you. There is a independence requirement for audit and review engagements. 4A, 4B we have discussed. These are based on international standards. Independence standard should has been converted to shall. And the requirements distinguished. I told you that R is the word. And increased clarity of the responsibility for compliance, firms, network firms, and individuals within the firms. Earlier, it was not very clear. Now, network firms and individuals all have been clearly defined. Now, coming to the no-CLAR. Earlier, it was not applicable for a period. So, first 30th September 2022, it was not applicable, but now it is applicable in new phase with, of course, certain modifications. So, let me talk what nuclear is. Nuclear is any act of omission or commission committed by a client or employer contrary to the prevailing laws or regulations. So, it is a very tough situation that you have to disclose or report that all the legal compliances have been made by you, made by the auditee, and you have to confirm. This is quite difficult, but initially what was there, it was applicable to listed company, audit assignment, and employees of the listed companies. Now, I have this question because everybody is not confronted with this nuclear, so I'm moving faster. Suppose we have uh, applying nuclear. We know that these companies like direct tax act, GST, custom, accounting standards, standards on auditing, guidance notes, notifications. Then we have to comply. We are doing it. Certainly, we are doing it. Then we are talking about few more: fraud, corruption, and bribery, money laundering, terrorist financing, security market, data protection, banking, tax and pensions, environment protection, public health, and so safety. So I can fetch eight earlier, 16 we have thought of. There could be many other compliances under different laws which we have to report. So that is a tough scenario. And I can tell you that while doing an exercise for due diligence of acquisition of a hospital, we have encountered many, many more compliances which have to be done, legal compliances. So it's a tough situation. When you are reporting, you have to take care of all those things. What are exclusion? Exclusion are only matter inconsequential or personal, if the family relations or any other personal liability is there, that is not to be disclosed here. The reporting, the reporting is to be made in accordance with the related agency or the agency which may be notified by the government. What happened earlier? Earlier, this was a situation applicable to all employees of the listed company. Now it is applicable to the senior professional accountants in service, being the employees of listed companies. So it is only senior people, senior like CFO, if the CEO is there, chartered accountant, only then is applicable. Then it was applicable to all listed company. So the decision has been taken by the council that it is applicable to the audit engagement of the entities, the share which are listed on the recognized stock exchanges in India and have net worth of 250 crore of rupees or more. The applicability of this section 3 section will be subsequently extended to all listed company at the date to be notified at. So why I'm talking about this? Because 250 crores audit, this is not applicable in all the segment. So we don't want to discuss too much on this. We will proceed a bit further. Then we have independence standards. I've already discussed this. Unintentional breach is no more there. Then a situation of there is a key audit partners. What are the key audit partners? Engagement partner. I was discussing about the engagement. What is the engagement? When you are accepting an assignment, you have received, first of all, you will give the letter that your firm is uh, uh, eligible for this appointment. Then they will issue a letter that the board has agreed that you will be appointed as an auditor. Fine. Thereafter, thereafter, the engagement you have to take. Engagement letter, you sign an engagement letter. And engagement function is very, very important where you spell out what exactly we are going to do. This so that you will exchange an engagement letter. And that is the first requirement thing, the documentary evidence, that audit engagement letter. What will this speak? That this is the assignment. My performance will be limited to this particular position. We will expect these things to be done by you, and this information will be provided by you. Then we will perform this to this extent, and my fees is going to be this. So this is the requirement that you have to perform. And so in every case, there is an engagement partner. I told you from when we are talking about the comparing with the peer review. Question I have, who is the engagement partner? The engagement partner is the individual responsible for the engagement quality control review and other audit partners, if any, on the engagement team, who makes the key decisions on the judgment on significant matters with respect to the audit of the financial statement, on which the firm will express an opinion. Depending upon the circumstances and the role of the individuals on the audit, other audit partners might include, for example, audit partners responsible for the significant subsidiaries or divisions. So what is important? Who is the engagement partner? Means he is an overall overseeing that audit, or audit function of that entity, and he will take care. He will be supervising in a way to the audit team, where the other chartered accountants are also there, and also the partners of audit partners of subsidiary companies. So he's in a responsible position. Now, one question from the audience would be there, sir, we have got proprietorship firm. How do we do that? You see, there is no ban on a practicing firm in a proprietorship firm. Then you have to clear cut demarcate something that you are the independent partners, you are the in charge engagement partner also, you are carrying the senior partner, carrying on the function, but certainly there is a person, maybe from your office, who is reviewing it. And I always suggest that your audit program must, on the top of it, must give the engagement partners who is signing that report, and there has to be someone at the bottom that reviewed by, and there must be a different person. This requirement is there. Why this requirement is put? The maker and checker concept is always there in audit. So maker and checker, it is not necessary that a chartered accountant's work cannot be reviewed by a non-chartered accountant. It can be done. So in you're a senior person sitting in your office who is working for the 8, 10 years, 12 years, he can review. If you have done everything, then you can put before him that just you review, I have done this thing, just you review it. What in the review, nobody is going to take a view or decision. It is only the thing that you simply proceed for the things which are in the agenda, means annexures, and the annexures are properly placed, and the language is properly drafted, date, place is properly filled, foreign is there, and all these things, such things are there. So that is called a review. And this review can be done by another person. So when you make an audit program, you, on the top of it, The audit engagement partner is the person who is signed the report. In the case of the proprietorship, I am telling you, and there is reviewed by somebody. If you are two partners, of course, then you have a maker shaker. Intermittently, you can change. Then there is a firm rotation. There is a kind of a rotation in Companies Act. It is there, but 2019 code incorporates firm rotation requirement via a separate section 550 to make the guidance comprehensive for the members. What does it talks about? It talks about that in accordance with the law, other laws, you have to make that rotation. But also for keeping independence in particular scenario, you have to keep the rotation of the members, firm and partners. Partner rotation is also there. So what is there in case of companies where members of the company prescribe a shorter time, a period such? This is for partner wherever the entity requires. But last item, partner rotation requirement prescribed by certain regulations such as RBI, certain NBFCs, etc. shall prevail 33 changes in the partner rotation. They are placed in the section 540 to 545 5 to 23. This in the revised code, there is a rotation of partners, are very important. So again, why the partners rotation is required? Because there has to be a proper balance. There is no threat of I'm telling you about those 5 threats. So there is threats are eliminated. For eliminating the threats, this rotation is required. But again, same question comes from, say, Bhagalpur. Sir, I'm a practicing as a proprietor. Sir, you do it with because in a proprietorship firm, there cannot be partner rotation. So you can take that there is no partner. So what you take precautions which are required. That I told you. New introduction 2019 code. During the course of retirement, cooling of a partner, they have put certain conditions. This code talks about the prohibition on consulting with the engagement team regarding technical or industry specifications, transactions or event, prohibitions are leading to a coordination, the profession. The fundamental thing is that he cannot guide, cooling of partner cannot guide an engagement partner who is performing the function in the current period. Then it talks about the management responsibilities. This is something that what code says, that you cannot have the management responsibility to the client. In the earlier code, this was not there. So this is a new reference, the management responsibilities. So what has happened is the firm shall not assume a management responsibility for the audit client. What does it mean? That you will not be in a position where you are a governing position or decision making or signing a document. That you cannot do. What you can do is only administrative services. Administrative services means where no decision making is done by you or not you are authorized signatory, that those things you can perform. So providing administrative services to an audit client does not usually create a threat. Now again, what we have talked about 5 threats. Now these threats are percolating down here in this. Word processing services is not a threat. I mean, Suppose your client asks that you prepare this format and these data and provide us. No issue, you can do that. It, in a way, you can say it is a typing function only. There is no element of uh, control. Any control is not there. So you are performing this. This is fine. Then the preparing administrative or statutory form for the client approval. Here, uh, I want to discuss something from the point of view general purposes. Preparing administrative or statutory form for client's approval. What we do, what usually we file income tax returns, we file GST return, we file ROC documents on behalf of the clients. But we are filing from our computer. Now, prior to that, you were filing signed by him at the desk counter. So this issue was not there. At these days, what is happening? We are filing these forms from our IP address. And what tricky situation is there is submitting such form as instructed by the client. So there are two aspects. You are preparing the form and submitting the form simultaneously. So what I want to suggest here is that you prepare the form and you mail it to your client that we have prepared this form and please suggest. You write this much. And after 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour later, or the next day, as the case may be, you can file it. So you are in a winning situation. Otherwise, if you file the document or form or return, then it becomes your responsibility. And if at a later date, if it denies, then you will be held responsible for that. And our code of ethics requires, he just talks about that you can do administrative function. Filing form from your IP address on his web portal is a risk. So the our code of conduct categorically stops you from doing. So what my view is, how do we perform? We prepare these forms and send it to the client on their email, and after some time we file. So suppose at a later stage there is an issue between you and client, which is now happening these days. So you can say that you have telephoned me or your person was there or something like that. So you have done both the things. You have complied with also with the code of ethics. You have complied with the requirement of the client. Again, monitoring statutory forms, filing dates, and advising clients. This is also not an issue. Here again, at this point of place, I am coming to one. You when you are performing the function, you are keeping the digital signatures at your place. It is certainly a wrong practice. So when you are doing it, but practice is practice. So you have to do practice. So for practicing, you have to take a letter from client that I'm sending this uh, digital signature. You please apply on our documents as and when I instruct. And that these circumstances you can keep, otherwise keeping digital signature of different entities in your office is an issue. So this slide took time because we are sharing our experience and the legal issues. Then non-assurance services, that's something. This code has brought non-assurance services into picture in a very well defined manner. There were certain exceptions, like you cannot do accounting, bookkeeping services. So to certain extent, IT system valuation, etc., you could not do. So 2019 code has got some very strong things like enhanced general description of the recruiting services. The recruiting services have been put as a threat because if recruiting services or field check, etc., is being done by you, then it gives a threat that you may be performing uh, management services. So to eliminate this factor, the code has said that recruiting services are restricted services. Taxation services to the audit client. This is a big issue. This is a big issue, and this has been brought to the in the this code. The taxation to audit clients include compliances, planning, provisions, formal taxation, opinions, assistance in the resolution of the tax dispute. Such assignments are generally not seen to create threat to independence. This was the concept of Code of Ethics 2009. But 2019 is 180-degree different. Further guidance on taxation matters provided generally, it states that providing tax service to audit clients might create a self-review or advocacy threat. Now, I have already talked about this, is self-review and advocacy threat. So this code probably telling us that you cannot do or you should not do taxation service to the audit client. And this is the biggest bone of contention as of now, because this is the normal practice, best practice, where a proprietor or a small partnership firms are by and large dependent on the taxation services or other services. So if we are mainly the entities having PUs having two types of functions, the assurance and taxation. So if an audit firm cannot perform taxation service on audit to audit client, then it is very difficult for their survival. Small and medium firms, they cannot perform their functions. So looking into this aspect, we have uh, there has been a representation, and the institute has come out with a proposal that you can do it. But the taxation service to the audit clients, what they say, tax return preparation is usually no threat. If you prepare all tax calculation for the purpose of preparing accounting entries, that will subsequently audited by the firm, create a self-review threat. I have discussed about the calculation of depreciation. On the same date, we might calculate, because the profit is frozen, we might calculate a provision of tax. Similar situation might arise there. Tax planning and other advisory services might create self-review and advocacy threat. Appropriate safeguard to be adopted is using professionals who are not audit team members to perform services. Having an appropriate reviewer not involved in providing services, review the audit work. You see, what we have talked about, it has to be done same way. At least one senior member of your office, even if you are a proprietor, then you do some way that it should be evident. It should be visible that you have done. Beyond that, you cannot do it. You are a proprietor. These things will not relate to you, but then you have to do it. And in case of small partnerships, say two partners, then you can have an interchange of the situation. But certainly, there has to be some document which should speak this. Tax service involving valuation might perform only when the result of the valuation will not have to be direct effect on the financial statement. As assistance in resolution of tax dispute might create a self-review or advocacy threat. So similar thing. So these two things have been very hovering around the tax, I mean the small professionals, and at small places, Mufassil towns or B and C class cities, where they will feel the heat of it. So the council has taken a very welcome view that earlier the situation was in case of assistance in the resolution of tax dispute, the term court is explained as under what was written when what constitute a court depends upon how tax proceedings are heard in India. But now what council has settled the matter in case of assistant court is explained as under for the purposes of this subsection court does not include tribunal. To me, up to you cannot go to the court. So we were not going to the court earlier also. We were going up to the tribunal. So this has been restored. So at present you can do it. But certainly I'm telling you this theme is going on that taxation services should not be provided to the audit clients is unfair to my view. There is some definition of the relative. Then there's a public interest entity. This concept has also been brought into this for the first time. This says what are the public interest entities? Why I'm discussing this phrase very importantly because each of you are connected somehow, some way or the other, whether you are a small, medium, or whatever. To enhance the independence requirement, the new code defines PIE, means public interest entities, as a listed company. An entity defined by regulation or regulation as a public interest. Either it is a listed company or an entity defined by regulations, for which the audit is required by the regulation or legislation to be conducted in a compliance with some same independence requirement that apply to the audit of listed company. This is telling you this, it is a listed company or listed type company. They are covered. Now, what is important here is this fourth bullet. For the purpose of this definition, it may be noted that banks and insurance companies are to be considered as public interest entities. This is a very important thing. Fourth bullet. So, what does it mean? That public interest, a bank is a public interest entity, and you are auditing bank branches also. To me, it means that you have to bear in mind that your work should be as if you are auditing a public interest entity. All those factors which are relevant has to be dealt with. Document this I will come later in a different slide, so I have skipped it. In this code, other documentation has been emphasized. You know, you are doing documentation as per the code of, SA 230. I especially called SA 230 as a mother of documentation. But code of ethics requires certain more. When I'm talking about the documentation, I will take one more minute. That whenever you are auditing, uh, auditing the financial statements of a client, you are receiving the financial statements or the books of accounts or whatever, either in a half-cooked situation or at a later stage. So you have seldom so much of time that you do the reporting in a proper particular fashion. So you do all exercise that your books of account should be complete. All the provisions should be neat and clean, and the financial statements are presented in a very perfect fashion. And the moment this happens, you sign your report. This is the peculiar situation. But what is happening? Had these has the financial statement been given to you as an independent person after approval of the board of directors or other entities, then you would have done the reporting in a better fashion. Your reporting would have been a visible reporting with certain things. But here you are doing all and each and everything neat and clean, so that the financial statement should be very, very proper. That is which is the responsibility of the management. So somehow we have to force them that this entry is not there. You do this, you do this, make this. We do the reconciliation. We find that this entry needs to be passed. All those things are being done. So those things are an issue with our practitioners, especially small and medium practitioners. So there has to be some mechanism that we receive the financial statement, complete financial statement. I means the complete books of accounts, which we are not getting quite often. Let me be very clear. So when we are talking about the documentation 230 over and above 230, what this code needs when you have concluded an audit and you have 3 4 5 issues which which are to be discussed for reporting purposes. So they say what you have to keep and how you have to keep the facts. You have to narrate the facts. Then the what accounting principles or is standards involved for which you need information. The communication and parties with whom matter was discussed. Now, with whom this matter was discussed. The the course of action considered, and how the accountant attempted to address the matter. Now, these last two, I'm leaving. Forget about that. So, what exactly they want? They want if you have an issue that your accounting standard, the valuation of inventory has not been done in accordance with the AS2. What you have to do? You have to write, this is the fact, and then you have to communicate to him, and this it gets back to you, and then you take appropriate action. So what I suggest you that you prepare a columnar document, write your issues serially, and send it to the particular person, TCWG, those charged with the governance. And in the second column, they should respond. Then again, if you have anything, third column, you again send them. And then if fourth column is you are receiving some information, fine. If you are receiving the information and not receiving, even then, you can conclude your things. And this will one to two, whatever page issues, depending upon the issue, but at least 2 3 pages. This will take care of your documentation in a very, very sophisticated fashion, and you have the right documentation. Why I took this decision? This is workable. Indebtedness criteria. This is not too much big. Then there are certain things you have to do the KYC. I told you the guidelines of the council are mandatory. So these are the KYC guidelines were issued 2013, 17. Change of in case of change of appointment, we will come how you have to communicate because the communication is very important. Communication requirement in the case of audit and non-audit assignment differentiated. In audit case, that is a mandatory requirement. And duty of the predecessor accountant to respond to the communication. Earlier, what was happening? We have received what was being written. Sir, we have received, dear sir, we have been appointed auditors of this XYZ company or anything. And please let me know if you have any objection. If we do not receive this thing, we will presume it to be done. Now, what is changed? Outgoing auditor is made responsible that you have to comply, you have to inform against that letter that there is no such reason why you should not accept, or there is some reason why you should not accept it. Fee based on percentage of profit or contingent upon finding as a result such work not allowed except as permitted under regulation 192. sorry sorry So Code of Ethics 2019 volume 1 mentions general description of the contingent fees. Contingent fees, what is contingent fees? Means happening or non-happening a particular event or in the percentage basis. So what has been extra given is charging of fees by member enrolled as insolvency professional, because insolvency code was not there in 2009 code, so it has been brought. KIBC IBC 2016, you can charge it, and fee for rendering non-assurance services to non-audit. If you are rendering services to non-audit client, what are services? Non-assurance services, means non-audit services. Then you can charge, and there is a 192 restriction on the fees. Is maybe there is a restriction, there is a liberty that when you can charge liquidator, you can charge cooperative society fee based on structure of slab rates, valuer and direct tax, you can charge it. In case of certain management consultancy, you can also charge it. In case of certain fundraising, you can charge it. In case of debt recovery, yes, you can. In case of service related to cost optimization, yes. This is simple thing that if you are a chartered accountant working under some chartered accountant, then your responsibility will be same as the senior as the partner. So now coming to the second volume, quickly we are reading what has been done due to amendment, CA Amendment Act 2011, amendment in CA Regulation 1988, changes in the council guidelines, changes in the auditing and accounting standards, Companies Act, changes due to Code of Ethics 2019. So all these things have been put in the place, this volume 2. Council decision and clarification given by ESP and other committees having ethical repercussions, changes in the advertisement guidelines, changes in the commentary under class 6 and 7. We will deal with this in the first schedule pertaining to solicitation and advertisement, changing in the commentary under clause 8 pertaining to communication. The structure is that all paragraph numbered here, this is all ethical. Then we have this schedule. First schedule, internal to the profession. Then the second schedule, this is a schedule of the offenses. I would call offenses, but so, and then there is a disciplinary. These are the clause schedules, part 1. The 12 clauses, then 2 clauses. All these are the clauses. Then, if there is a confirmation of this, then there is a disciplinary mechanism. 21 a board of disciplinary है and फिर DC है 21B में for second schedule offenses. The first schedule offenses are dealt by the board of discipline. The second schedule offenses are dealt by the DC, and 21C, authority of BOD, DC, and director discipline. And 22A is appellate authority. And 22, professional and other misconduct. So this is the overall structure. The first schedule talks about these things. You cannot do. It is you. This is a professional misconduct. You are guilty of professional misconduct if you do these 12 things. Allows any person to practice in his name except as a partner or employee. Yes, there are cases where the people have been impersonated, put the signature, seal and stamp of somebody else. Yes, those people are covered here. Pays or share commission or brokerage to the person other than member of the institute or retired partner also. Accept profit from a person who is not a member of the institute. Enter into the partnership with a person who is not a member of the institute. Secure work from the person who is not his employee or partner. Solicit work by circular advertisement 6 and 7. I'm talking advertising his professional services. Accept audit work without first communicating with the previous auditor. Maximum cases are pending before the DC on this matter. Then ninth is accept audit work without first ascertaining that the requirement of section 225 of the company, it's an old one. Now the section is 140 of the Companies Act 2013 are complied with. Accept professional assignment where fees based on percentage. Except I have already discussed regulation 192. Engages himself in any business or occupation, barring a few exceptions. Allows a person who is not his partner or any other partner who is not a member of the institute to sign on his behalf. This also. Then the member in service, if a member other than member practice could be guilty, undertakes a share in the emoluments of his employment, accept any part of fees, profits, or gains from the liar, CA, broker, etc. And then member generally, first I'm talking about the first schedule. Not being a fellow, acts as a fellow, does not supply information called by the institute, council, etc., gives information knowing to be say, false while inviting professional work, responding to the tenders, inquiry, etc. And then other misconduct is held guilty by a civil or criminal court in which is punishable with imprisonment, not exceeding 6 months, bring disrepute to the profession. This is also very important. And then the second schedule, we have started my deliberation. There's a part 1. Discloses information acquired in the course of professional engagement to any other person. Confidentiality. Certifies any report of the financial statement unless the examination has been done by him or his partner to the or employee or any other CA practice. Gives an impression that he vouches for the accuracy of the forecast. So, you see, this is something very difficult thing because the banks are these days are questioning that you give us the CMA data signed by the chartered accountant. This is the problem. But then you do the compilation as per SRS 4410 or SRS 3400, as the case may be. So you report in a separate faction, but you do not sign forecast to be true and correct or true and fair. Expresses his opinion the financial statement of any business in which he is not his partner has substantial interest. It is again independence. Fails to disclose material fact which is not disclosed in the financial statement, but disclosure of which was necessary. This is the reporting. Fails to report on a material misstatement. Again, reporting. Does not exercise due diligence or is grossly negligent. It again the same proper reporting. Fails to obtain sufficient information which is necessary for expression of opinion. Here again, I have told you one part of documentation. Here, any other thing which is required that you have to obtain and keep the documentation in your possession. Fails to invite attention to any material departure from generally accepted audit procedure. Again, it is reporting. Fails to keep money of the client other than money meant expended in a separate banking account. You have to, if for a paying tax you require, you make a separate account for that. Part two, the contravenes. Now, I have started from here, my slides. Contravention any provisions of this act or regulations. Right? Being the employee of the company, firm, or any uh, discloses confidential information include. So all these things which we have already discussed in at some place or the other. Again, this is a pronouncement from the ICI. While performing our duties as a professional, the knowledge of laws and other rules and regulation affecting a particular assignment is fundamental. However, apart from the domain of the knowledge, one also needs to constantly bear in mind that the provisions of CA Act, regulations, technical pronouncement of the ICI, and also few notification of ICI. Violation of these pronouncements doubtless is a professional misconduct. This summary is this, that whatever is written, you have to comply with. This I can export. Then there is SA 3400, examination of the prospective financial information standard on related services. There, these two you have to keep in mind. This SA 3400 when you are giving for this banking purposes, and SRS 4410 compilation engagement. This you have to do and report in according to this. The reports are available there, and there is a guidance note on the reports or certificates for special purposes. This 2016 reports are there. Please do not sign the projections or compilations without your report as specified in these guidelines, or SA 3400 or SRS 4410. Management consultancy services. We have talked about administrative services. It refers to routine or mechanical work like compilation and submitting forms. Well, those things which I have already told you. The management responsibility and management and administrative services are two different domains. So one you cannot do management. You cannot step into the shoes of management. You cannot do the decision making, but you can provide support services. Valuation you can do. Then mode of communication. So, mode of communication, as I have told you, that communication methods have been defined, that in a given set of circumstances क्या होगा. First of all, communication by letter आप कर सकते हैं, hand ले सकते हैं, acknowledgement कर सकते हैं, और UTIN अभी हमें clear नहीं है. Then there are certain situation, new duty cast on the previous auditor. Now there is an incoming auditor is responsible for to provide information to the incoming auditor whether he has to accept appointment or not. I have told you. There is a situation if you find that your letter has returned premises log, then you can proceed with that. Firm not found at the given registered address, yes, again you can do it. So what is happening? If in the communication you have to do only one thing, that you have to communicate on the address which is at the record of the institute. If you have done it and even he has not done it, he has not responded, then you have made your responsibilities. Director simplicity is one thing, that if you have in a simple case, the family firm or family company is there, for unavoidable reason, there is one director, you need to have, for quorum you need two director. then you can become a director simpliciter, but you cannot sign any, you cannot file any documentation from your signature. The signature have to be in income tax return, ROC returns, etc. have to be signed by the other director. Conflicts of interest. Cooling of directors, I can tell you, if somebody was director in a particular company, then for 2 years, he cannot become the auditor of that company. Generally accepted audit procedure, peer review, listed company का होना चाहिए. Mandatory, foreign, it is a requirement, UDIN requirement is there. Guidance on tender. This is important because you're filing the tendering process. So in tender, it is generally alleged that people are quoting very, very low fees. But let me tell you very clearly that whatever situation is there, whatever quotation you have made, you have a backup document. If you are quoting X amount, then you have to have a working in your file that certain when the scope, there is a scope which is taken out from the print, from the website or wherever it is, and then you have done some exercise. We will engage so much persons, so much man hours, means qualified, non-qualified, and this is the cost, and that is how you worked out the cost, and then you have made some element of overheads, and then you have quoted. If this document is there, then your quotation, even if it is a lower quotation, it can be considered by the council that you have done your homework. But if you have simply quoted 50,000, 40,000, 20,000, even sometimes I have seen much lower also. Not to talk about that, but you have to quote in this way that you do it for your purposes, and you have a document, you have a calculation based on which you have made this assignment. And you can also pay what you call guarantee amount if the tender is required, if it is required in the tender. You can put CPA on your class. Oh, sorry, visiting card. Now, the ceiling on fees, I want to come this, and then we will come to the other aspect. What was there that self-regulatory measures recommended by the council has 40% limit on the fees from one or more clients under the same management. Exemption is there, less than 2 lakhs annual fees, audit of government companies, public sector taking nationalized banks, and where the appointments are made by the government. Here, if you have any fees, so there is no issue. But Code of Ethics initially brought out that if more than 15% from the client consecutively for 2 years would require disclosure to TCWG. Exceptions, same as in the self-regulatory measure, further annual fees exempted is up to 5 lakhs. 5 lakhs. So what was the issue? That if you are receiving fees from a particular client for 2 consecutive years, 15% of your total assurance business, then you have to report to TCWG. If you're reporting to TCWG, it is a big hassle that they will consider that you are dependent on me. The issue has been considered by the council at a later stage, and then they made a change on it. So differentiated disclosure requirement to be, if it is a non-public interest entity, I have if they already discussed about PIE. So this is a 40% of total fees of the firm. So if the 40% of the total fees is you are receiving from one particular entity for 2 consecutive years, then you have to report. And from the public interest entity, it is 20%. And again, then you have to report to whom? Report to institute, not to any other person. And for the small and medium firms, they have also considered sympathetically exemption from the applicability of this provision where total fees received by the firm does not exceed 20 lakhs of rupees. अगर 20 lakhs से ज्यादा नहीं है, 20 lakhs तक you are free. So I believe the many of us are covered here, and so nothing to worry much about this exemption. Sponsoring activities. A member or a firm not permitted to sponsor an event, however, may sponsor an event conducted by the POU of ICI, provided it has a prior approval of the CPE boards. Members sponsoring activity relating to CSR may mention their individual name with prefix CA. However, the mention of the firm name or CA logo is not permitted. Advertisement. Teaching and coaching activity. Code of ethics silent on the sharing of the educational videos, silent on the advertisement of teaching and coaching activity. But teaching is other occupation business in terms of Appendix 9 of the CA Regulation Act 1988. Code 2019, what does it say? Provision of CA announced that bar on advertisement of coaching, teaching activities incorporated. Earlier, it was not there. Educational video may be uploaded by the members, however, no reference to the CA4. Movie and TV credits, yes, it can be done provided it should be the same manner this where others are also there. Other names are written the same fashion. Sharing firm details in an interview. If you are in an interview, any detail is to be given only on a specific question. Suppose you are being asked, you are being interviewed, and then you are talking about the chartered accountant. Then if he talks about you, what is your professional expertise, then certainly you will talk about that I am a partner of this firm for so many years. That way you can say. Otherwise, in the normal course, you cannot name your see. Authorship of books, article and presentation also included in the commentary, professional and attainment prohibited. However, use of prefix CA or name of firm permitted. Advertisement on celebration. Considering the need of interpersonal socialization relationship of members through such get-together occasions, advertisement for silver, golden, diamond, platinum, or centenary celebration of CA funds may be published in the newspaper. I mean, if these years, 50, 25, 50, 75, 100 years, if they are there, then you can advertise. Otherwise, you cannot advertise in the name of firm. Size and illumination of the board, there was an issue, but now it has been taken while keeping in mind the applicable visibility and illumination of the sideboard. So there should be your visibility should be there, that the name of the chartered accountant firm should be legibly seen or visible. Internet, it's the same thing. A member may appear on television, films, and internet and agree to broadcast in the radio to give lectures at forums and may give their names and describe themselves as a chartered accountant. A special qualification or specialized knowledge directly relevant to the subject matter of the program may also be given. Firm name may also be mentioned, however, any exaggerate, this is an important thing, any exaggerated claim or any kind of comparison is not permissible. This is the main thing. Then the advertisement guidelines, again, the advertisement guidelines have consolidated related to provisions appearing at different places in the Code of Ethics. Write up to include social networking website also. Web replaced with website. Name chartered accountant to be replaced with CA name. Passport size replaced with the passport style. In the case of individual members, allowing members position held as a director or managing director in management consultancy firm. In case of firms, to allow monitoring of affiliations with the network registered firms with the institute. Write it. The important thing is it should be honest and truthful, no exaggerated claims. It cannot bring the profession in disrepute, should not contain testimonials or endorsement concerning members or name of the client or the fees charged, and must not be violative of any provisions of the Act. Font size they have restricted to 14, and the write-up should not contain any information about the achievements. Monogram of any kind or use any kind catchword is not permissible. The membership of foreign is mandatory, and the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India may issue directive for removal of the withdrawal of the whole write-up or any part thereof if they feel this way. And volume 3 is these are the case laws. Some of the important decision we can take, so that, and if the time permits, then clause 6 and 7. It is not permissible for the member to practice being a statutory auditor to prepare business responsibility and sustainability reporting study to audit clients. However, he may provide advisory services to the same. And similar, permissible for members in practice being a statutory audit to be assurance providers of BSR or our core for the same client. The statutory auditor of an entity not permitted to engage. This I have told you that the statutory auditor cannot give the report on SRS 4410 because the compilation report and the statutory auditor, their two persons have to be different. Members in practice are allowed to take license registration of investment advisors from SEBI. However, members are not allowed to engage in service of broking, underwriting, portfolio management, and cannot take agency of mutual funds, etc. Then it's not permissible for a member in practice to accept the assignment of mystery audit. What is mystery audit? Mystery audit is an audit of certain certain clients whose whose activity is scattered in a different areas, like automobile service centers, like franchisees, etc. So they do some kind of audit, that they take information from their clients over there and they give a report. So this is called mystery audit. It is permissible for the member in practice to become professional director on the board of management of cooperative bank. It is permitted a member to mention their position as a promoter director on the portal of a company. However, the member cannot mention his professional attainment and name of the firm which he is associated with. There should be no violation of clause 6 and 7. It is permissible. It's permissible for a member to set up practice in IFSC gift city. Gujarat mein, Ahmedabad mein, this is a IFSC Gujarat gift city hai, that you can do practice over there. You can give services to the IFSC clients. It is like a sedge. You can compare it with sedge. It is a different area where the entity can do international functions. The firm is not permitted to publish its vision mission statement on the letterhead. I've already told you the member in practice cannot be appointed as internal auditor and procurement officer simultaneously of an organization. It is permissible for member in practice to charge fees on percentage basis for utilization of grant. It is not permissible for a member in practice to accept appointment of a statutory audit of a society where the immediate family member, spouse or dependent of the member hold honorary position. There is no conflict of interest in a chartered accountant who is a member of trust being the auditor of the said trust. It is not permissible for member to use messaging application. You see, you cannot do any kind of a messaging. So through common proprietor, of course, here I would like to tell you that Institute of Chartered Accountant of India has created a CA Connect portal, and you can uh, place you join that website, which is open for all the users. So it is a common platform where your name and everybody name appears, and the user of the service can select any one of. Member in practice cannot act as a trademark and patent attorney, but he can advise. He can advise. There is no prohibition for internal auditor of the company to take shares of that company. CA may register Udyog Aadhaar. He can itself on Udyog Aadhaar web portal of Ministry of MSME. Chartered accountant practice can provide services through kiosk. You can give this. It is at the time of GST, when GST came in, then some inquiries were floated what we can do. So the ICI said you can give the session to your clients. You can give the joint session to your client, and the chartered accountant practice being director simpliciter in company cannot sign ROC form. I have already told you. In case where chartered accountant practice is a non-executive director in a company, he or the firm in which he is a partner should not accept the appointment as statutory auditor. That is independence. The chartered accountant practice can act as an authorized representative of a foreign company, provided he is not an auditor of the said company. Chartered accountant in practice is allowed to take e-return registration if he is not a conflict with employment. The chartered accountant in practice may act an equity research advisor but cannot publish because of it is an other occupation. A chartered accountant can be a registration authority for obtaining digital signatures. A chartered accountant in practice not permitted to accept audit assignment of a bank in case of he has taken loans against a fixed deposit held by him in that bank. A chartered accountant can hold the credit card of a bank when he is also auditor of the bank, provided it is not more than 1 lakh in indebtedness. Chartered accountant practice can act as a mediator in the court, since acting as a mediator would be deemed to be covered within the meaning of arbitrator. It is not permissible for a CA member firm to print its vision and mission on the visiting cards and letterheads, etc. Because of it is a violation of clause 6 part 1 of first schedule. A member in practice cannot hold custom broker license under section 146. A chartered accountant practice cannot become financial advisor and receive fee commission from a financial institution such as mutual insurance companies and BFC, etc. And a chartered accountant cannot exercise lien over the client's documents. It's not permissible for chartered accountant practice to take agency of UTI, GIC, or NSDL. Chartered accountant who is the statutory auditor of a bank cannot be the same financial year except stock audit or inspection audit. A chartered accountant in service may appear as tax representative before authority. If he is an employee, he can represent his company only, none else. A CA firm which has been appointed as the internal auditor of the PF trust by a government company cannot be appointed as statutory auditor. And CA firm can act as the internal auditor of a company and statutory auditor of employee fund under the New Companies Act. A concurrent auditor of a bank cannot be appointed as statutory auditor of the bank, which is sponsored by X. It is permissible for a member practice to be a settler of the trust. And this is one other ASB decision that concurrent audit and the assignment of quarterly review of the same bank cannot be undertaken simultaneously, as the concurrent audit being a kind of internal audit and the quarterly review being a kind of a statutory audit undertaken simultaneously, or the prohibited under the provisions of the guidance note on independence of auditors. So these are the things. I have a separate file, but let me know if how much time we can.
Sir, we can take up to 5 minutes, sir. We can take.
Without going to the file, I am talking about CA Connect portal. I have already discussed. There is those guidelines of networking guidelines. Let me discuss networking guidelines, or CP we can discuss, because it is an important thing that the CP calendar you have to perform. You have to obtain such CP credits in your account. Otherwise, if you do not complete these CP studies credits, then you will have some problem. Let me tell you, if for 2013, 2023, you have to, a person who is less than 60 years of age has to have 20 structured and 20 unstructured. He has to conclude this 40. So suppose for any reason, and out of these 20 structured, there are 4 you have to carve out for 2 CP hour for code of ethics and 2 for standards on auditing, essays. So rest you can complete, and non-structured you can complete it by doing structured or non-structured, both ways. So suppose you do not complete these, this is for the calendar year. So if you do not complete within the calendar year, so you will be given a time of relaxation for 6 months. 6 months. By 30th June, you have to complete these, but twice of the amount, which is a shortfall. Suppose you are 12 in shortfall, you have to obtain 24 more. And if you are not there, then it will be reflected in your, another 6 months will be given, then it will be reflected in your portal. Then there will be another 6 months. If you are not completing, then it will be embedded in your professional PDC. Means when you are applying for the bank audit, this will be an issue. And even if you are not completing within next 6 months, I mean 1.5 साल के बाद भी नहीं कर पा रहे, then what will happen? Then it will be placed in your record, and it might go to disciplinary also. So in any case, you have to complete these CP hours well within time, so that it is not obstructing your way for getting your audit. So 2 things are very, very important. The one thing is completing CPE hours, and second, getting peer review done. These 2 things are very important for you, because from the next year, probably these 2 elements will hamper requiring your bank branch audit. CSA will not, because they have already concluded their peer review they are doing. And for everyone else, peer review and CP hours are mandatory to be concluded. And as a tip, I would like to discuss one thing. When you prepare your documents to be kept, So 5, 10 things, 5, 6 things I will tell you. First, in your file, if you are new to the audit, you take no objection, no objection. So first is the appointment letter, then take no objection certificate from your outgoing auditor, and then take first thing and first foremost thing is the audit engagement letter. So sign an audit engagement letter, put it in the file. Then the next is audit program. Audit program, where on the top I told you the audit engagement partners, ethics partner and engagement partner, you put on the top who is signing that report, and the next someone other partner or any other senior person who is reviewing that audit program. Thereafter, you see what kind of other things are there. You have to review what standards, technical standards, what are AS and Ind AS. So you should keep a list of AS and Ind AS, and you have to tick whether it is which are applicable and which have been taken. And then you should have a management representation letter, and also before that you should have a list of essays, because unless you have a file in your file, the list of essays, probably you will not be able to conduct that. And essay 505 is a very important thing that should be there in your documentation, that you have sent the letter for external confirmation. So that should also form the part of your documentation. Then management representation letter should be there. Then all other allied things which you want, you can keep, but at least these documents should be there. And one is sampling. In between that audit planning, when you are doing audit planning or the sample, how did you arrive at the samples? So what you do in the sampling, debtor and creditor, suppose you come to the at least 5 to 10% volume, if there is a single element, then you take in a complete checklist. So there's some kind of sampling you should mention, that we are taking non-moving items we have checked, then debtors above 1 lakh I have to check, all debtors above 1 lakh or 5 lakhs, creditors above 5 lakhs. So such kind of an sampling you should do, that should reflect that you have done the work. Otherwise you are doing, there is no doubt it about, but that should reflect that you have done the work. And this kind of thing, I mean, our vice chairman has said how we are going to save ourselves. So if these things are there, I'm assuring you the 70-80% job is done. No DC cannot go against you if you can show that I have done this, even if something went wrong for some reason or the other. So if these things are done, if you have not violated other norms, so you are safe enough, and there will not be any serious action against you. So, and these documents should be there, and you should have a permanent file also, where all the documents related to the company, registration till KYC and etc. And these documents have to be, and all other these agreements, serious agreements are there. Many companies have got the agreements, lasting agreements, both India and as well as foreign. So you should keep in the permanent file, and the current file, of course, where you are keeping all other documents. So with this,
can we take few questions?
Yes, sir, please.
Sir, I have received some question. I will take it by relevance on the topic.
Okay, sure.
Whether statutory audit can be taken for the year in which legal advisory services were rendered by the same firm?
See, as far as the legal advisory services, if there are specific legal services and you are engaged for those legal services, certainly there is no bar as of now, because taxation services still there is no bar. So legal, if you have done the legal services, and important thing is what kind of legal services, especially in taxation. So if they have been taken done, then there is no bar.
Can a CA in practice issue calendar to clients for due dates for various
Certainly,
compliance?
certainly, yes, he can do. He can do.
So third question is, what is the relevance of NOCLAR even when SA 250 compliance is already done?
Nuclear, nuclear is something different. Nuclear is talking about whether you are taking, they are independent. You are disclosing that all the legal compliances have been made in relation to that entity. As I was talking about the hospital, there are many legal compliances which are not being done. So you have to report all those legal compliances. Here it is written, the sport is, this exercise is stressful. Even then you have to do. So this reporting nuclear is a separate domain altogether. You have to report separate.
Thank you, sir. Whether engagement letter must also mandatorily have professional fees details?
Yes, yes, yes.
Is there any part-time COP for members? Yes, there is certainly is.
Yes, it is.
Can a new practitioner immediately apply for bank audit in his first year of practice?
There is no bar on him, but it is for for the bank to honor and institute to take care of that. I don't think he will get.
Yes, sir. Now I want to thank our learned speaker, CA R.K. Gaur sir, for giving detailed analysis and explaining the code of ethics and the steps to be followed by our members to mitigate the same. Sir, your deliberation on the topic will surely help all the members in their professional engagements. I also want to thank the Institute and the Ethical Standard Board of ICAI for conducting this seminar. I want to thank the chairman and committee members of Bhagalpur branch of CIRC for conducting this webinar. At last, I want to thank all the members who have joined this seminar, who have attended this seminar and have made it a grand success. With this vote of thanks, I, on permission of my speaker, hereby ending this session. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, R.K. God sir, for your wonderful session. And it was a wonderfully attended session. And I'm also thankful to the Bhagalpur branch and for the members for watching the webinar. Please keep watching the webinars of Ethical Standard Board. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Ashish.
And Bhagalpur branch is more welcome if given opportunity to conduct more such webinars.
Sure, sir. Sure. We will definitely so.
Yes. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.